Miaojiang youths are skilled in Jiu sorcery. They take 100 insects and place them in a jar. After a year, when it is opened, one insect will have devoured all the others. This is called Jiu. But if the 100 insects fight without producing one dominant Jiu, all the remaining insects can become Jiu. The tightly drawn curtains kept the room dim even during the day. Countless red threads crisscrossed the room in a chaotic web, and I was bound by them, suspended in the center of the room. Even though I faced the empty ceiling, I knew how many eyes were fixed on me. Please, I beg you. Let me go. There are 3 great joys in life: a promotion, wealth, and a dead husband. Me, Tsai Yaya, achieved all 3 within a week of getting married. Promoted to director, with a raise and a higher position. My husband and his mistress died in a car accident. Truly, 3 joys at once. I was the designated beneficiary of my husband's insurance, and all the mistress's assets were in my husband's name. As his first heir, I inherited everything. Me, Tsai Yaya, now suddenly rich, a young wealthy woman, and single. Thanks to that car accident, I was freed from the scumbag who deceived me for 3 years. Thanks to my husband's last bit of scheming, putting all the assets in his name and stringing the mistress along. Oh, wait. I should call him my ex-husband now. My greatest hobby now is spending my free time curled up on the sofa at home, counting the zeros in my bank account. But I do have a conscience after all. Sudden wealth really makes it hard to sleep or eat peacefully. After setting aside support funds for my parents and my ex-in-laws, I took out a portion to donate to children in impoverished mountainous areas. One place stood out as particularly unusual. It seemed to be an ethnic minority from deep in the mountains. The charity director explained that there, secret arts were passed down only to women, not men. As a result, all the girls found good paths in life, leaving behind a group of outstanding boys. I didn't pay much attention to this. It was just about casually throwing money at a cause. I didn't expect anything in return. I just wanted to ease my conscience. The first time I saw those boys from the mountains was at my home. The director brought them to visit. The mountain climate nurtured people. Each had fair skin, red lips, and white teeth. Miss Tsai, these are Sheng Bei, Sheng Dong, Sheng Nan, and Sheng Shi. I looked at the 4 boys. Sheng Nan and Sheng Bei looked very alike, but Sheng Nan had a small mole at the corner of his eye, while Sheng Bei's was on the left side of his nose bridge. Sheng Dong and Sheng Shi looked almost identical, but each had a mole on their left and right wrists respectively. After introductions and explanations, I signed the contract with the director. That concludes our procedures here. The 4 boys will be with Miss Tsai for this period. Oh, all right. The accommodation I provided for them was very close. I directly bought the opposite apartment, so now the entire floor was mine. After settling them in, I took them to the supermarket to buy daily necessities. Walking through the supermarket with 4 handsome boys certainly satisfied my vanity quite well. Suddenly, I felt that even Mary Sue stories were nothing special. Sheng Bei pushed the shopping cart beside me, discussing missing items with Sheng Dong, occasionally turning to ask for my opinion. Shang Nan and Shang Shi playfully roughhoused and chatted laughingly up ahead. Suddenly, I thought this was quite nice. If I had children, it would probably be like this too. After leaving the supermarket, the sunlight glared directly, making me dizzy. In a daze, I saw Shang Bei smiling at me, and the fortune-telling from 2 weeks ago suddenly swirled in my mind. In this life of yours, there will be many tribulations. That master left me with that cryptic sentence before shooing me out. His gaze peculiar. I thought I must be too tired lately. All 4 of them attended boarding school, only coming back to stay on weekends. After getting to know the 4 boys, my life became livelier. If I came home late on Fridays, I could still see steaming hot meals on the table. Not only were these kids disciplined in their lives, but they also helped me deal with quite a few annoyances like the pesky blind date, who kept pestering me relentlessly. It's all right, sister. He'll stop bothering you soon. At the dinner table, Shang-Chi smiled at me, revealing cute little canine teeth. Sister, if you have any difficulties, you should tell us. Xiangnan suddenly looked up. Shang Dong also chimed in with an hum. What could these kids possibly do? I chuckled to myself. Unexpectedly, even the usually steady Shen Bei spoke up. Sister, we can help you. Yeah, we're really capable. Xiangxi seemed to want to say more, but Xiang Dong covered his mouth. Watching their odd antics, I couldn't help but laugh. Maybe this was just teenage boys showing off. Anyway, their intention was to cheer me up. So why not indulge them? Strangely enough though, that man really never showed up again after that. Not even sending harassing messages. Did they go and beat him up? I decided to quietly ask Zhang Bei. At that moment, the boy had just finished bathing, walking out while drying his hair with a towel. Nice abs. I feigned composure. Go put some clothes on. Don't catch a cold. Xiang Bei quickly went back to his room and slipped on a t-shirt. Did you need something, sister? Let me ask you something. I glanced around. No one had come out of the other rooms. You didn't actually beat up that guy from last time, did you? Xiang Bei didn't expect that kind of question and laughed. No, of course not. Then how come Xiangxi said he wouldn't come, and he really didn't? Well, maybe he saw there were 4 of us here and backed off. That was also a reasonable explanation. Seemed like Xiang Bei didn't know either. Probably that guy had some self-awareness after all. All right then, never mind. Go get some sleep. Dry your hair before sleeping, don't catch a cold. Good night, sister. Xiang Bei finally leaned close and whispered in my ear. Sister, Xiangxi has a fever. Can you come pick him up? Xiang Bei's voice on the phone sounded urgent. Hearing that, I snapped awake. I'll be right there. After picking up Xiangxi, I drove straight to the hospital. The boy slept fitfully in the passenger seat, still dazed, cheeks flushed, murmuring incoherently. Only after 1/2 drip did Xiangxi gradually wake up. Seeing me beside him, he burst into tears with a wah. This caught me off guard. Xiangxi hugged my waist, crying quietly. Luckily, there weren't many people in the infusion room late at night. I patted his back to soothe him. After a while, he finally calmed down but still clung to me, not letting go. Sister. Xiang Dong and I are twins. But Mom didn't like us. When I was little, I had a fever once, and Mom left me at the hospital and never came back. Later, Xiang Dong brought me home. Sister, please don't abandon me. Sister won't abandon you. I comforted him softly, stroking his back. Around 3 a.m., Xiangxi's fever finally subsided. I took him home. Sister, can you please stay? His voice, still slightly hoarse from crying. I turned back. Xiangxi sat on the bed with his head bowed, fingers gripping the blanket so tightly they turned pale. This poor kid. I sat back down on the edge of the bed. Sleep. I'll stay here with you. Xingxi thought for a moment, got out of bed, and brought another quilt from next door, spreading it beside mine. Well, 1 bed, 2 quilts. I sat on the bed while Shang-Chi curled up beside me, holding my hand tightly. With a young boy lying next to me, sleep was impossible. I leaned against the headboard and dozed off for a bit. When I woke up, I sent texts to the teacher and my boss asking for leave. At noon, while supervising Shang-Chi drinking his congee, Xiang Bei sent a WeChat message. Sister, how is Xiangxi? His fever broke. He should be able to return to school tonight. Okay. Thank you, sister. I watched Xiangxi lowering his head to drink congee, the silver bracelet on his wrist clinking against the bowl. Seemed like all 4 of them wore a bracelet like that. At this age, they were all shooting up in height, each with slender wrists. Wearing a bracelet didn't look girly on them. Perhaps because I stared at the bracelet too long, Xiangxi offered his hand to me. Sister, do you like this? Plain patterns coiled around the bracelet's surface, indistinct in design. It's quite pretty. This was made by our family. Each of us 4 has a different one. Xiangxi took my hand and placed it on the bracelet. If sister likes it, next time we go back, we'll make one for you too. The silver patterns, recessed, reflected strange silver light under the illumination. For some reason, the longer I looked, a strange feeling welled up in my heart. Ever since his last illness, Xiangxi had clearly become more clingy to me than the others. Sister, is there anything you need help with? Xiangxi peeked into the kitchen doorway to ask. Help me bring the soup out, and call the others for dinner. Sure thing. By the time I reached the dining table, the 4 of them were already seated properly, waiting for me to start the meal. Sister, we plan to go back home for the new year during this holiday. Xiang Bei spoke up after thinking for a moment. Have you booked the plane tickets and everything? I looked up at him. Yes, we're leaving about a week after final exams. All right, let me know if you don't have enough money. Their living expenses were also funded by me. Overall, it very much looked like I was supporting them. Be careful on your way back. We know, sister. In the days right after their exams, they completely relaxed, coming over to my place to hang out every day. Ding dong. I'll get it. Don't cheat this round. No swapping cards behind my back. I stood up and warned them. Mom, what are you doing here? Standing at the door was my mom, holding many bags of groceries. Help. If my mom saw me with a bunch of boys in the living room, eating takeout and playing cards, it would be over. Just came to see you. You didn't even go meet that guy I mentioned last time. I'm here to see what my daughter is actually up to. My mom changed her shoes and headed toward the living room. Maybe because I yelled too loudly earlier, by the time she walked into the living room, the previously messy space littered with takeout containers, drinks and cards had already become clean and tidy. The four of them, who knows where they got books and study materials from, were now pretending to be studying seriously. Seeing my mom come in, they immediately stood up. Mum, these are the kids I mentioned last time. Auntie, hello. I'm Xiang Bei. Auntie, hello. I'm Xiangnan. Auntie, hello. I'm Xiang Dong. Auntie, hello. I'm Xiangxi. Their chorus of "Hello, Auntie" made my mom beam with joy. After all, what woman doesn't like young, handsome boys? Good, all studying, that's wonderful. I secretly gave them an okay sign behind my mom's back. Xiangnan winked back at me. Not bad, that was fast. Dinner was also cooked by my mom, and she insisted the four of them stay. The kids' mouths were really sweet. One moment it was, Auntie looks so young. The next, Auntie's cooking is even better than a restaurant's. They nearly charmed my mom into adopting all four as godsons right then and there. You, take them shopping for some new clothes before the new year, got it? All right, I know. Mum, call me when you get home. Amidst a chorus of "Goodbye, Auntie," I finally closed the door. I turned around to see them all standing there looking at me, their eyes bright, as if asking how they did. You guys are too much. Keep this up, and we'll soon be real siblings. Pre-New Year social engagements suddenly increased. Yet another unnecessary business dinner over drinks. On the way home, I didn't let the taxi driver drop me right at my doorstep. Instead, I went to a plaza near home. It wasn't too late yet. The plaza had people walking dogs, jogging, exercising. I walked step by step toward the railing by the lake, closed my eyes to feel the wind from the water, sighing at how things change. I'd still had too much to drink. When I turned to walk home, I didn't watch my feet. A step's difference plus my high heels successfully made me twist my ankle, and I ended up sitting on the ground. A piercing pain shot from my ankle. I tried to stand up, but my right ankle couldn't bear any weight at all. I opened my phone, starting to think about who to call for help. Sister? A familiar voice came from above. I looked up. Xiang Dong was wearing a hoodie and sweatpants, headphones around his neck. Probably out jogging, his chest was still heaving slightly. I suddenly noticed his bangs were a bit long, covering those beautiful eyes. It really is you, sister. I thought I was mistaken. Xiang Dong crouched down in front of me. What's wrong? I twisted my ankle. I moved my hand away from my right ankle. Xiang Dong reached out and gently touched my ankle. Can you help me back? Xiang Dong looked up, meeting my eyes directly. It deepened my earlier thought his eyes were truly beautiful. Xiang Dong stood up and took off his hoodie. Underneath, he only wore a white t-shirt. I didn't understand what he was doing. He handed the hoodie to me, then turned around, crouched down, and reached his hands back. The alcohol was making me a bit slow. Sister, this hoodie was freshly worn today, it doesn't smell. Xiang Dong's voice brought me back. I wrapped the hoodie around me from behind, tying the sleeves in a knot in front to prevent my short cocktail dress from exposing anything. Xiang Dong was tall, so his hoodie was big. On me, it covered most of my legs. I leaned forward onto Xiang Dong's back, whispering softly in his ear. Thank you. It really doesn't smell. I watched the tips of Xiang Dong's ears slowly turn red. Maybe it was too comfortable on Xiangdong's back. I drowsily closed my eyes. Ah, it hurts. A cold sensation on my ankle startled me awake. I was lying on the sofa, my right foot propped on Xiangyun's lap. He was gently pressing a cold can of cola against the swollen part of my ankle. Sister, how did you twist it so badly? Xiangnan frowned, almost unable to look at the red swollen area. I wasn't watching my step, accidentally twisted it. The cold cola pressed against the swollen, painful spot made me suck in a breath. Gently, gently. This looks a bit serious. Xiangnan roughly measured the size of the swelling. I sighed. It really felt like everything was piling up. The year-end was already busy enough. Now this just added to the annoyance. Is this medicinal liquor okay? Xiang Bei came back from outside holding a bottle. He crouched down in front of Xiangnan to look at my ankle. Suddenly being examined by two young guys felt a bit embarrassing. Xiang Bei poured a bit of the medicinal liquor into Xiangnan's hand. Xiangnan rubbed his palms together to warm it, then pressed it against my ankle, gently massaging. It hurt. It hurt so much I grimaced and flailed. Suddenly, an arm stretched out in front of me. It was Xiangdi's. Sister, if it hurts, bite me. Looking at his expression of heroic sacrifice, I couldn't bring myself to bite. But I grabbed his arm, squeezing tighter the more it hurt. Afterward, Xiangnan went to wash his hands, and Xiang Bei helped me back to my room. Just as I stood up, Xiang Bei stared at my ankle, then picked me up in a prince's carry. Sister, apologies for the intrusion. Xiang Bei gently placed me on the bed, then put my pajamas and things beside me. Good night, sister. After twisting my ankle, my life became even more boring, so I simply took my annual leave to rest at home. The four of them came over to take care of me during the day. Xiang Bei's cooking was truly delicious. Following my mom's advice before the new year, I planned to buy them some new clothes. I directed Xiangnan and Xiangxi to borrow a wheelchair from the grandma downstairs. Those two kids were sweet talkers, good at charming people. Try on whatever you like. Sister has money. I sat in the wheelchair accompanying them shopping. Sister, your milk tea. Thank you. Xiangxi poked the straw in and handed it to me. Xiangdong watched our hands meet. Xiang Bei glanced at Xiangxi, but didn't say anything. Just as I was about to take the milk tea, a hand gripped the cup. It was Xiang Bei's. Xiaoxi, are you sure this cup is sister's? Xiangxi didn't speak, but he didn't withdraw his hand either. It's sister's. Xiangdong took the milk tea from their hands, glanced at the label and handed it to me. This flavor is what sister ordered. It's fine. It's okay if it's the wrong one. I pulled Xiangdi's and Xiangxi's hands apart. I can drink any flavor. This straw is a bit dirty. Xiangnan crouched down, opened a new straw and replaced the old one. Drink less, or you won't be able to eat lunch later. I know. I waved my hand dismissively at Xiangnan. Are you really sure about ordering the spicy pot? I frowned at the menu's extra spicy combo pot. We're really good with spicy food. Xiangxi leaned close to me. Sister, just drink more water, you'll be fine. A hand with distinct knuckles held a glass of water in front of me. Drink more water, less likely to get heaty. As he said this, Xiangnan took away my milk tea. Drinking too much of this can make it hard to sleep. Okay then, teacher Xiangnan. The night before their departure, I planned to secretly slip little red envelopes into their bags. WeChat transfers would work too, but paper ones looked more festive. Have you considered danger? You. Also. I know eavesdropping isn't good, but the soundproofing in this room was a bit too effective. I could only catch fragments, piecing together that they were arguing. Xiangnan opened the door, and we had an awkward face-to-face stare. None of you asleep yet? I glanced sideways into the room. They were all there. Xiangxi's eyes were red. He lowered his head, not looking at me. Come. We won't see each other over the new year, so sister prepared red envelopes for you in advance. Thank you, sister, but we really don't need this money. Xiang Bei pushed the red envelopes back into my hand. It's not much money, mainly just my good wishes. I placed the envelopes on the table. You have an early flight tomorrow, so get to bed soon. Okay, sister. When Xiangnan saw me to the door, he quietly bent down to meet my eyes. Sister, don't miss me too much. I won't admit my heart skipped a beat. Come on, who can resist handsome guys? When did you get a red mole? Huh? Look. My best friend pointed her chopsticks at the inner side of my forearm. This red one, it's quite pretty, actually. I looked at this inexplicably appearing mole. No idea. Maybe it just grew randomly. Just as we were talking, my phone rang with a video call. Sister, Happy New Year. Hearing the voices of young men calling sister from my phone, my best friend turned to me with a mischievous look, silently mouthing the words. Something's going on? I raised an eyebrow at her. She nodded with a knowing smile. Got some game? I moved the phone to include my friend in the frame. This is my friend. Just call her Sister XX. Sister, hello. A few words of greeting put her in high spirits. She patted my shoulder to show her approval. On the screen, all four had changed into traditional Meow clothing. The dark blue-black homespun fabric made their skin look even fairer. Each wore a small silver ring on their left ear and 3 silver neck rings on their chests. Sister, you look even prettier lately. Our little Nan has good taste as always. Xiangnan giggled, dodging the playful elbow jab from Xiangde. Flatterer. Sister, do you have any New Year wishes? Shengxi asked from the other end. Then I hope you all stay healthy. Shengxi seemed a bit troubled. Doesn't sister have any wishes for herself? Me? I don't really have any at the moment. Come on. Wish for a new relationship to make up for the last one. My best friend chimed in beside me, sounding exasperated. The atmosphere on the other side of the screen seemed to drop suddenly. Then I wish for sister's every wish to come true. Xiangde was the one who finally said goodbye. The casually mentioned wish seemed to come true quickly. After all, the New Year period was peak matchmaking season. This time, the match was quite a catch, good-looking and decent. Miss Tsai, would you be free to watch a movie together tomorrow? During the post-New Year routine, Mr. V would occasionally invite me out. Since I did have some favorable feelings toward him, I agreed. All right. Thank you. I'll head up now. He always drove me home and dropped me off at the building entrance. Yaya. Good night. Good night. I smiled and said the last words before turning around. You're back so soon? I thought winter break wasn't this short. I happened to run into Xiaonan and Xiangde moving luggage at my door. Sister, the school asked us to return early for classes. Xiangbe stopped what he was doing to open the door for me, especially since I was holding a large bouquet of flowers. Xiangnan leaned over to look at the huge bouquet of roses. Wow, these flowers are so pretty. Seeing the genuine admiration in his eyes, I pushed the bouquet into his hands. Then they're yours. Take good care of them for me. Okay, sister. Get some rest early, all of you. Good night, sister. Xiangbe was still holding the door for me. Good night, sister. Xiangnan waved the flowers at me. Good night. Good night. I closed the door. The moment the door shut, Xiangnan and Xiangbe locked eyes. Their gazes were colder than I'd ever seen. Xiangbe carried the bouquet inside, casually tossing it onto the sofa before leaning against the backrest. Xiangdong, who had just come in from the balcony, reached out and plucked a rose, crushing it in his palm. Xiangbe walked to the table and poured himself a glass of water. What's wrong? Xingxi had just finished showering, rubbing his hair as he walked out of the bathroom, only to find the atmosphere among his brothers heavy. Where did these flowers come from? Xingxi sat on the sofa, picking up the bouquet to examine it closely. Sisters. Xiangdong rubbed the crushed rose petals between his fingers, squeezing out traces of red liquid. No one replied. Xingxi turned his hand over. A small G insect appeared in his palm, its green body already shriveled, slowly writhing. No one spoke below, but it seemed they all knew what was about to happen. Xiangde set down his glass, also turning his hand to reveal a Jiu insect. One alone isn't enough. Xiangnan understood, a faint, elusive smile curling at the corner of his mouth. Even my brother took action. This is getting more interesting. Xiangdong was still recalling what he'd seen downstairs earlier, the smile on the girl's face. A red thread wrapped around his fingertip. All right, let's all get some sleep. Xiangnan stood up and returned to his room. The others gradually left the living room. No one paid attention to the crushed roses in the trash bin. In the blank room, red threads crisscrossed and overlapped from different directions. A faint human silhouette was vaguely visible in the center, but the room was too dark to see clearly. Yaya? Yaya? I jolted awake. Mr. The looked at me with concern. I had fallen asleep in the passenger seat. Sorry, I've been a bit too tired lately. I've been having frequent dreams that left me exhausted. Sister. ... Hearing the voice, I snapped back to reality. Looking at the foggy bathroom mirror, I shook my head grudgingly. Was I hallucinating? I sighed as I plugged in the hairdryer and pressed the switch. Maybe I had too many projects lately. The hairdryer didn't respond. I tapped the nozzle. With no other choice, I opened the group chat. Can I come over to use your hairdryer? Mine broke. Shang-Chi replied. Sure, sister, I'll open the door right away. They were all still awake. Shang Dong and Shang Nan were playing games in the living room, and Shang Bei was warming milk in the kitchen. I gestured to them and went straight to the bathroom to dry my hair. The boys' bathroom looked much simpler. The scent of their body wash was quite pleasant. Halfway through drying my hair, I suddenly rushed out. Did any of you just call me? Shang Dong looked at me confused. No, we didn't. Weird. Another hallucination. Maybe I hadn't heard sister enough lately. After drying my hair, I returned to the living room. Shang Bei happened to be pouring milk 5 cups. Sister, have some before you go back. Milk helps with sleep. I thought it sounded good and agreed. While drinking, I suddenly felt a rustling behind me, then a sharp pain on my scalp. Sorry, sister. Shang Nan had quietly started braiding my hair from behind. Gently. I didn't have high expectations for a young boy's hairstyling skills. Shang Nan coughed softly after hearing me. Okay. Halfway through, Shang-Chi joined in to watch. The two of them circled me, discussing. This section is missing. No, this part is wrong. After all the fussing, it ended up just being ordinary braid. Shang Dong took my empty cup to wash. Shang Bei went to the bathroom and brought back a comb. He walked behind me and gently loosened the newly braided hair. Comb it or it'll tangle. I reached out to take the comb, but Shang Bei directly started smoothing it for me. His movements were gentle. A pleasant scent from behind gradually enveloped me, and drowsiness began to eat away at my consciousness. In a daze, it felt as though my soul was floating upward. I watched Shang Bei softly calling the unconscious woman on the bed. My own body no longer responded. Shang Bei sighed, picked up the woman in a horizontal carry, and entered his own room. Xin-Shi and Sheng Dong were already waiting inside. Xiang Bei gently placed the woman in his arms onto the bed, then stepped back to the cabinet. Shang Nan appeared at the doorway at some point, leaning against the frame, watching the sleeping woman's face. Shang Dong and Shang-Shi stood on either side, tying red threads to the woman's wrists, winding them up to 2 bells fixed at the head of the bed. Shang Bei turned his hand, revealing a Jiu insect. He pried open the woman's mouth and fed it to her. Xin-Shi also turned his hand, revealing the frail Jiu insect. He lightly tapped its back with his finger, and it instantly crumbled into powder. Shang Nan walked over. He dipped his right fingertips into the powder, then lifted the hem of the woman's pajamas with his left hand, revealing her navel. His powdered fingertips began drawing on her abdomen. It was a strange pattern. Once finished, Shang Dong and Shang-Shi tightened the red threads. The pattern flickered faintly until it disappeared. The next morning, I woke up stretching. It had been a long time since I slept so soundly. During lunch break, I saw a message from Shang Bei. Sister, our homeroom teacher wants to meet next Friday. Are you free? Okay. These kids all had ethnic minority household registrations, and their status as sponsored students was special, so they occasionally received extra attention from teachers. That day, I dressed particularly professionally, even wore red-soled high heels to appear more mature for the conversation with the homeroom teacher. Miss Tsai, right? Let's talk in the office. I followed the homeroom teacher into their office. Teacher G. I wanted to ask about their current academic performance. Roughly what tier of schools could they advance to? The homeroom teacher laid out their report cards in front of me. It's actually not bad. Their foundation was too weak before, but they're slowly catching up. Good, good. The homeroom teacher was aware of their situation and spoke earnestly. These kids are really lucky to have met you. The four of them stood waiting for me outside the office. Seeing me walk out with a serious expression holding the report cards, they didn't dare speak and just followed me. Sister? Shang-Chi finally couldn't hold back. Just scold us or hit us directly. I turned around. The four stood there looking at me. For some reason, this moment felt etched in my heart from a third-person perspective. Inside the school building, four strikingly handsome boys just looking at you. Beyond the railing, towering plane trees grew skyward. The weather wasn't warm, but the sun was just right. A moment of disorientation. Let's go. Pick a place. Sister's treating you to a nice meal. Yay! Sister is the best. Shang Yan and Shang-Chi flanked me, their arms over my shoulders. Good thing I was wearing high heels. Sigh, if only I were 18 again. Most of the time, the four of them lived on campus. Only occasionally on Sundays did we have time to meet, and I'd take them out for something good. For some reason, if too much time passed without seeing them, I'd feel anxious. Only meeting in person made me feel better. I attributed this to a parental mindset. I suddenly felt the previous match wasn't to my liking and turned him down. I was back to being happily single again. Sister, are you feeling unwell? Maybe because I looked dejected. Holding my cup with my head down, Xiangbei spoke up from across the table. I lifted my head and forced a smile. I'm fine. Suddenly, a hand appeared on my forehead. Xiangnan leaned close to my ear. No fever. I helplessly took his hand and lowered it. Really, I'm fine. Xiangnan turned his hand so his palm faced mine, gently scratching it. It tickled, but somehow the hollow, uncomfortable feeling in my heart eased a bit. As if enchanted, I held his hand. Suddenly, my heart felt much steadier. Snapping back to reality and realizing what I was doing, I immediately let go of our intertwined hands. What's wrong? I looked up and met Xianan's concerned gaze. Suddenly, I felt that gaze wasn't as simple as it seemed. There was something behind it I couldn't quite grasp. I started avoiding physical contact with them. It felt strange to me, as if that peculiar sensation was addictive. The first to notice was Xiangbei, because when I took the cup he handed me, I deliberately avoided touching his hand. He glanced up at me, and I pretended nothing was wrong, avoiding his gaze. Thankfully, they were busy with school, so we didn't have much time to interact. This feeling of unease lingered around me. The increasing inability to cope with work and life began to worsen my exhaustion. This accumulated feeling gradually became oppressive. I would go to their place and sit for a while after returning home, doing nothing, just curling up on the sofa, spacing out. I knew I was acting strangely. I also knew the sense of dependence wasn't right, but I didn't know what was wrong. Was it that I had fallen for him or them? My habit of going to their living room was eventually discovered. That day, after work, I dragged my tired body, opened their door, and curled up on their sofa as usual. Not long after, the sound of a key turning came from the entrance. I froze as if struck by lightning, unsure what to do. It was Xiangbei who came in. He didn't seem surprised to see me on the sofa. Sister, I came back to get something. I watched him walk into a room, then come out again a moment later. Just as he was about to open the door to leave, I couldn't hold back and spoke. Xiangbei. He turned to look at me. I pressed my lips together without continuing, just sitting on the sofa, staring straight at him. Xiangbei looked at me on the sofa, his eyes full of helplessness. He sighed and walked over, crouching beside me. What's wrong? His gentle tone shattered all the defenses I'd built up over this time. Grievances and discomfort flooded my heart. I threw myself into his arms. Xiangbei probably didn't expect my sudden move and couldn't brace in time. His shoulder blade hit the coffee table. Holding Xiangbei and crying for a while made me feel a bit better. I pushed him away, choking back sobs, and spoke with my head down. I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me. Xiangbei didn't say anything. He pulled me back into his embrace. A young man's embrace is always warm and full of security. Then let's hug a little longer. I didn't expect to return to his arms, but I didn't refuse. I wrapped my arms around his waist. I closed my eyes, just for a little while. Let me be crazy this once. Staying away from that powerless, panicky feeling was truly wonderful. When I woke up again, I was in Xiangbei's room. A note was left on the bedside table, Sister, rest well. I thought I might need to see a psychologist. 3 months later, I managed to book an appointment with a psychologist. Looking at the medical records and test reports, there was nothing wrong with me. The doctor said it was just work-related stress. Really? I still felt something was off. Was I missing having a man? That night, I called up my girlfriends and went to a bar I hadn't visited in a long time, tackling it from the root. When the handsome guy finally had his arm around my waist, pressing me against the hotel door about to kiss me, I suddenly felt nauseous. I pushed him away and locked myself in the bathroom. I dry heaved over the sink for a long time before standing up and looking at myself in the mirror. What was wrong with me? Today's guy was completely my type. My eyes were slightly red from the physical reaction, but my makeup still held up perfectly. My hair was styled today too. Everything seemed flawless. But I knew beneath the makeup I looked haggard. Without lipstick, my lips would be pale. The last time my complexion had perked up was probably a few days after Shanghae carried me back to his room. Did I need to find Shanghae again? I did end up looking for Shangbi. Using the excuse of a final pre-exams boost, I took them out for a meal. Actually, when I saw them walking out of the school, I was still leaning against the car window, questioning whether this was right. Xiongnan tapped on my car window, signaling me to unlock it. I watched Xingbei smile at me from behind him, then naturally open the car door and take the passenger seat. This dazed state lasted until we parked and were about to cross the street, when Xingbei took my hand. Sister, it's a red light. I snapped back to reality, looking at our joined hands. The other three were roughhousing ahead, no one paying attention to us lagging behind, no one seeing our secretly held hands. This hidden joy somehow filled my heart. Neither of us let go. I allowed Xiangbei to shift from holding my hand to intertwining our fingers. Our sleeves were loose, so from a distance it just looked like we were walking side by side. Entering the restaurant, Xiangxi turned back to call us. I let go of our joined hands like a thief. Xiangbei didn't say anything. I could feel the air around him grow colder. Then he pulled out the chair beside me and sat down. The meal felt bland. Xiangbei occasionally served me food, just like before. But this time I could clearly sense something different in his demeanor. When dropping them off, Xiangbei found an excuse to stay behind. We sat in the car without speaking, locked in a stalemate. Just as I was about to tell him to go back, Xiangbei took my wrist and pulled me into his embrace. If you need me, you can just say so. The warm feeling enveloped me, suddenly bringing me peace. It's fine. Go back and study hard. I smiled and pushed him away, ruffling his hair. The fluffy top of the boy's head felt comfortable. Maybe I really had been single for too long. After their exams, during summer break, Xiangdong and Xiangxi invited me to visit Miaojiang. Considering the job offers headhunters had been sending me, I decided to take a proper break after resigning and before starting a new job. The scenery deep in the mountains was truly beautiful. The landscapes relaxed me. The Xiang family's small building had many rooms, so they put me right next to theirs. Most of the remaining villagers were elderly speaking Miao language. Unable to understand, I relied on them for communication and introductions. On the third day, Xiangdong brought me a set of Miao clothing. Thick blue attire with intricate embroidery. Not only beautiful but clearly valuable. But Xiangdong told me it was his mother's from her youth. Hardly worn. The clothes fit perfectly. When I wore them out, I clearly saw the boy's eyes light up. In the final days, Zhangxi brought me a box, full of anticipation for me to open it. It was a bracelet, 4 thin silver bracelets linked by a small ring. I'd seen this style before, but each thin bracelet was intricately carved with patterns I couldn't decipher. Though not visible unless looked at closely, together they were beautiful. After a long time, I had that dream again. The same dim room, chaotic red threads, and the person bound by them. But this time was different. Not a person, a tree. I could feel the red threads being plucked, delicate, filament-like sensations. I didn't know why I felt it on myself when I was observing from a third-person perspective. I didn't know who was lying there, nor who was plucking the threads. The first sensation was on my shoulder, the fine fuzz near the red threads gently brushing against the branches. No lights were on in the room. Through the tightly drawn curtains, faint light seeped in. I could see tiny dust particles floating around the red threads in the air, but they didn't look like dust. They had a faint glow. They returned with me, still staying in the apartment. Shenbei said they could all work part-time now, so they'd pay me rent every month. Not wanting to hurt the boys' pride, I only charged half the usual rate. As usual, they'd come home when they didn't have classes. The number for dinner was always Schrödinger's cat uncertain. Tonight, all four were out at a gathering. I had just been about to sleep when I heard knocking. Opening the door, it was Xiangnan, with a faint smell of alcohol and flushed cheeks. "Sister, could you pick up Xiangbei? He's probably drunk too, and hasn't come back yet." When I found Xiangbei, he already looked dazed, obediently letting me lead him away from the table and back home. "Did you bring the wrong key?" I tried for a while but couldn't open his door with the key. Mine was already lent to Xiangnan and the others. Suddenly, a pair of arms wrapped around my waist, and a head buried into my shoulder. Xiangbei was tall, holding me completely from behind, making it hard for me to move. I knocked on the door, no response. I patted the back of his hand, still no reaction. Instead, Xiangbei held me tighter. "Sister." He nuzzled his head against my shoulder. No choice, I had to bring this clingy little crab home with me. Xiangbei didn't want to let go, so I dragged him back to my place like a hermit crab. "Want to take a shower?" I turned my head to ask the one attached to me. Sleeping with the smell of alcohol was too unpleasant. I dug out a set of men's pajamas and a new towel from the closet and led him to the bathroom. "Clothes are here, okay?" I tried to pry his hands off, but Xiangbei held onto my arm, unwilling to let go. "The water temperature is already set. Sister, won't you stay with me?" Xiangbei's eyes were hazy, his lips slightly downturned with displeasure. "I'll wait outside the door, okay?" I tapped the doorframe twice. "Right outside." I leaned against the door, scrolling through my phone for nearly half an hour. Xiangbei still hadn't come out. Do boys also take this long to shower? I knocked on the door. "Xiangbei? Xiangbei? Xiangbei, are you okay?" "Xiangbei, I'm coming in." Anxiety overrode shyness. I opened the bathroom door. White steam filled the air. Xiangbei stood by the sink, only a towel wrapped around his waist, staring blankly at the set of pajamas. Hearing my voice, Xiangbei turned to look at me. I walked over. "I don't want to wear another man's clothes." Xiangbei spoke softly, like a child who had done something wrong. Hearing this, I somehow understood he wasn't referring to the others. "Then don't wear them. Go back to the room quickly. Don't catch a cold." Just as I turned to leave, Xiangbei grabbed my hand and pulled me into his embrace. Xiangbei held my waist with one arm, cupped the back of my head with the other, and gazed into my eyes as he slowly leaned in. Just as I was wrestling with whether to push him away from this kiss, Xiangbei stopped. Our lips were about a millimeter apart. "Is this okay, sister?" As if guided by a ghost, I leaned against his chest and kissed him, a whisper lost between our lips. "Close your eyes." What followed felt natural. I didn't push away the invitation that came after. Outside the window, thunder suddenly roared, raindrops pattering against the glass, gathering into droplets that trailed down the windowpane in rivulets. The wind shifted, scattering the condensed droplets. Water splattered in all directions, making faint sounds against the already damp glass. An endless chorus of wind and rain. The storm subsided. The wind carried a post-rain chill, soothingly brushing against the glass pane. Xiangnan was awakened by an intense, pervasive heat. When their mother had cast the Ji sorcery on them all those years ago, she hadn't just placed twin Jiyu on the pair of twins. She had also placed Jiyu on him and Xiangbei. The twin Ji allowed them to share sensations, which meant there were no secrets between the brothers. Xiangnan lay in bed, his eyes rimmed red, his pajamas mostly open. "Sister." The words spilled from his lips. Xiangnan lifted an arm to cover his eyes. After sleeping with Xiangbei, I hurriedly took on a business trip to avoid the awkwardness of seeing him every day. Why hadn't I held back? I propped my forehead on my hand, sighing. Now, whenever I stopped moving, I would recall that scene, the steamy bathroom and Xiangbei's captivating gaze. The day I returned, Xiangbei wasn't home. I went to return the watch he'd left in the bathroom. As I stepped out, I ran into Xiangnan leaning against the wall, watching me. He bent down with a grin, meeting my eyes at my level. "Sister, I know you slept with Xiangbei." I avoided his gaze, unable to look at him. You've tried it with my brother." Don't you want to try it with his younger brother too? Stop joking. I reached out to push him away. Xiangnan grabbed my wrist and pressed it against his cheek. Same face, different feeling. Sister, don't you really want to try? His voice rose at the end. I wanted to refuse, but as the last syllable fell, I found myself mesmerized, meeting his eyes and answering. All right. I don't remember how we got back to his room. I only remember coming to my senses when Xiangnan was kissing me. Even stranger, I felt like there was another person being intimate with me. Stop. Don't be afraid, sister. It was Xiangxi's voice. How could this be? Why had things come to this? Before I could think deeper, Xiangnan met my gaze, his fingertips pressing against the side of my neck as he held me and kissed me. Sister, you need to breathe. A demon's voice whispered beside my ear. That sentence made my heart skip a beat. Before I could ask anything, Xiangnan continued kissing the side of my ear as he spoke. Guess if they know what we're doing right now. A light chuckle brushed my ear, sending an inexplicable fear through my heart. Xiangdong was tutoring when he suddenly felt something strange and inexplicable restlessness in his heart. Not just from two people. After saying goodbye to the child he was tutoring, Xiangdong looked at the photo on his phone of the woman in Miao clothing. Sister, have you forgotten about me? When I woke up, I felt refreshed all over and my pajamas had been changed. I pushed open the bedroom door. Xiangdong was preparing dinner. I didn't have the courage to ask where the others were. Xiangdong glanced at me but didn't move from his spot. The pink apron looked mismatched on his tall frame. His eyes seemed to hold tears as he looked at me pitifully. Before I could ask what was wrong, Xiangdong reached out and tugged the collar of my pajamas inward. I looked down, it was a hickey. The situation suddenly became awkward. Xiangdong brought out the last soup, pulled out a chair and invited me to sit. The meal passed in silence. Afterward, I took the initiative to wash the dishes. Just as I finished cleaning the last pot, I heard footsteps behind me. Xiangdong leaned gently against my back. Sister, what did I do wrong? That question caught me off guard. Nothing at all. You've always done well. Tonight's dinner was delicious. Then why didn't sister come to me? As the last word fell, Xiangdong wrapped his arms around my waist. I thought it was just the boy feeling down lately. Help me roll up my sleeves a bit. Xiangdong reached out, but his fingertips didn't go for my sleeves. They went for the buttons of my pajamas. Before I could take off the rubber gloves I'd worn for washing dishes, Xiangdong used one hand to pin both my wrists and the other to stroke my chest over my pajamas. Xiangdong pressed me against the counter. I struggled to keep myself from falling forward. Xiangdong. I'm here, sister. The voice came from beside my neck. Xiangdong removed my gloves, and I saw my hands beneath them bound by red threads that had appeared from nowhere. Red threads. Red threads again. I tried to struggle free from these seemingly thin, soft threads. Sister, it's useless. Xiangdong. I opened my mouth but found I couldn't make a sound. Sister, I don't want to deceive you like they did. So just be obedient, okay? Deceive? Xiangdong's words confused me, but the sensations on my body grew more vivid. The water in the sink hadn't dried yet. The surroundings were damp, and the faucet, not fully closed, dripped steadily. In the end, Xiangdong carried me to the sofa. Sister, when do you think they'll be back? The living room lights were blinding. I looked toward the corner and shook my head at Xiangdong. Not here. Xiangdong turned my face toward him and kissed my eyes. Don't worry, sister. The words whispered in my ear, and my consciousness slowly faded. In my daze, I thought I heard the door opening. I started leaving early and returning late to avoid seeing them. Escape might be shameful, but it worked. After all, sleeping with all four brothers did make me feel guilty. Even though I knew it was wrong, I couldn't refuse them when we met. Who could resist four handsome guys? Lately, work kept me late, and I often didn't leave the office until after 10. The area near my neighborhood was under construction, with large boards erected and streetlights dim. After leaving the garage, I kept feeling like someone was vaguely following me. I didn't dare go straight home and instead walked outward. The nearest convenience store wasn't far from the garage. In high heels, I hurried toward the convenience store not far away. Just as I was hesitating whether to call the police, I met a pair of familiar eyes. It was Shang Bei. We hadn't seen each other in a long time. Since that incident in the bathroom, Xiangbei knew I was avoiding him. Surprised to see me, Xiangbei hesitated before greeting me. Sister. Watching him pick up his paid items from the counter and head out, I instinctively grabbed his arm. When I opened my mouth again, my voice trembled slightly. There seems to be someone following me outside. Xiangbei stared at my fingers. I suddenly realized I might be gripping too tightly, and let go awkwardly. The moment I let go, Xiangbei took my hand. It felt like a long time since we'd held hands like this. I looked down and saw Xiangbei shove his shopping bag into my hands. Then I heard the sound of a zipper, followed by a jacket being draped over my shoulders. Xiangbei took my hand again but didn't leave immediately. He seemed to go back to the counter, buy something, and stuff it into his pocket. Xiangdong took the shopping bag from me, wrapped an arm around my shoulders and walked out. Outside stood a man in a black hat. He glanced at us a few times as we exited. I instinctively shrank closer to Xiangbei in fear. Xiangbei's arm around me tightened. We only separated when we reached my door. Thanks for earlier. I took off the jacket and handed it to Xiangbei. He seemed a bit unhappy as he took it. Just as I was about to open the door and go inside, Xiangbei stopped me. Sister, this is for you. A small box suddenly appeared in my hand. I looked up at Xiangbei in surprise. The tips of his ears were bright red. Stay safe. In the middle of the night, all four received the same WeChat message. You're still young. You have a better future ahead. So treat everything as an experience, not your whole life. Xiangnan looked at this message that subtly drew a line, tapping the edge of his phone with his right index finger. Sister is starting to disobey. Do you think sister is starting to draw boundaries with us? A light chuckle. That depends on whether she has the ability to. Is she still wearing that bracelet? Yes, and the GU from last time is still in her. Logically, it shouldn't be like this. Why can she still refuse us? She's too much like Xiang Miao. Probably has some natural resistance to this. But she didn't react even after wearing that outfit. Isn't that better? It means she still depends on us. Will she run away again? If she runs, we'll just tie her up and place the final G. Last time, she couldn't handle it well. Wouldn't placing it directly be too much? It's fine if she can't handle it. She won't be able to leave us anyway. My hand on the doorknob trembled. I hadn't been feeling well this morning, so I took the day off to rest at home. I never expected to overhear this. I looked at the bracelet on my wrist, trying desperately to remove it. It had gone on easily, but now it wouldn't come off no matter how hard I tried. My phone kept lighting up, but I couldn't think of who to call for help. Even if I reported being under GU sorcery, no one would believe me. The conversation in the living room made my heart race. So everything had been planned. This wasn't sudden attraction. It was their scheme. I tiptoed and leaned against the door, hearing only that workers had come to repair the air conditioner. I hugged my arms, trying not to be so afraid, but I couldn't stop trembling. Escape. Leave them. That was the only thought in my mind. I would escape as soon as they left. I had always thought Miao Jiangji sorcery was just myth and legend. I never imagined it would actually happen to me. When did it start? Why me? What did they want? I didn't have time to think about all that. I just felt helplessly afraid. Those usually innocent, kind faces hid layer upon layer of calculation behind them. Hearing the door close and footsteps fade, I quietly opened my door, planning to find my friends first. But Xiangnan was still in the living room. The moment I stepped out, I ran into him turning around. Sister, you're here. Xiangnan smiled as he greeted me. Yeah, I just woke up. Watching him walk toward me step by step, I instinctively wanted to retreat. Did the air conditioner repairman come? I tried to act as if I hadn't heard their conversation at all. Sister, you're afraid of me. My back pressed against the cabinet. Xiangnan stood in front of me, blocking my way. No, of course not. Sister, your tone changes when you lie. Xiangnan cut my chin, forcing me to look at him. How much did you hear, sister? Or did you hear everything? I twisted my head away forcefully without speaking. A light chuckle sounded in my ear. Sister, you'd better not look into my eyes. Xiangnan didn't make any further moves. His palm pressed against my abdomen, warming it slightly. A strange feeling rose from deep within me. I seemed to crave him. Sister. Xiangnan leaned close to my ear. Look at me. His arm wrapped around my lower back, pulling me against his body. I turned my head and closed my eyes. Sister, why are you trembling? Before I could push him away, the sound of the door opening came from the entrance. Xiangbei stood at the doorway, watching us. I glanced at him and immediately looked away, only seeing his cold expression. I pushed Xiangnan away, trying to create distance. Xiangnan didn't resist and let me push him away easily. I heard footsteps approaching slowly. Xiangbei walked up behind me. Xiangbei wrapped one arm around my waist. Although Xiangnan had been pushed away, he hadn't let go of the hand on my waist. So now I had an arm on each side of my waist. Sister. Xiangbei's voice came from behind my ear, close to it. Don't be afraid. His tone was gentle, but his other hand reached from behind to turn my chin, forcing me to meet Xiangnan's eyes. Open your eyes. I frowned, keeping my eyes tightly shut. I didn't know whose light chuckle sounded beside my ear. Then came a lingering, gentle touch behind my ear. After that, I don't remember what happened. When I regained consciousness, I was back in my bed, my head splitting with pain. I tried to open the door, it was locked from the outside. I sat back on the bed, staring blankly at the door. Creek Xiangdong stood at the doorway, holding a glass of milk. Sister, you're awake. He walked over and sat beside me. Have something first. What would sister like to eat? I glanced at the watch on his wrist. I had slept an entire day. I'm not hungry. I looked at the stray hairs on his forehead, hesitating. What does sister want to say? Xiangdong didn't let me touch the glass, holding it to my lips, signaling me to drink directly. I took 2 sips and stopped. Will you let me go? I mean, when can I move around freely? Is being with us so bad? Xiangdong brushed aside the stray hair near my ear, his hand tracing down my ear to gently pinch my earlobe. Sister can't leave us either, can you? How is she? Watching Xiangdong walk out of the room with an empty glass, Shang-Shi stood up in the living room. She's asleep. Xiangdong shook his head and placed the glass on the table. Xiangyun leaned against the table, looking at the closed door, twirling the woman's phone in his hand. Guess how long until she's obedient? Half a year? 2 months? 2 weeks. 3 pairs of eyes turned toward Xiangbei sitting on the sofa. 2 weeks is enough. Shouldn't we have a little confidence in this little thing? Xiangbei turned his hand over, revealing a Jiu insect lying in his palm, its body reflecting silver powder. The milk residue left on the glass also glinted with an indiscernible light under the illumination. Xiangdong, can you hand me a towel? I wiped the steam off the mirror, looking at my damp temples. Being confined for over 10 days had actually improved my complexion quite a bit. The sound of rummaging came from outside the door. I mussed my hair in front of the mirror. A few strands, damp from the steam, clung to my collarbone. The person in the mirror had seductive, lifeless eyes. Hearing the knock, I leaned against the wall and curved my lips. Sister. Not hearing a response, Xiangdong knocked twice anxiously. Sister? I grabbed the doorknob, and the moment the door opened, I pulled the hand holding the towel into the bathroom. Xiangdong lost his balance, pulled inside. He couldn't steady himself and ended up pushing me against the sink. I hooked my arms around his neck. Our bodies pressed together. Xiangdong's hands protectively held my waist as he straightened up to look at me. Sister, did you bump yourself? I feigned pain, holding my lower back. Here. Xiangdong looked at the spot. It was red. Blushing, he wrapped the towel around me, his palm gently massaging my lower back. I watched him lower his head near my neck, his fluffy hair close to my face. I cupped his face in both hands and kissed him. I tilted my head back, holding his neck, leaning close to his ear, deliberately breathing onto his reddened earlobe. Then wait for me. I stood up and met his eyes, my gaze hooking onto his face. Xiangdong looked at me as if enchanted, letting go to give me freedom. I quickly walked out of the bathroom. Hearing the sound of running water, I locked the bathroom door. The seductive look in my eyes vanished completely. Young boys were so easy to fool. I quickly put on my clothes and headed for the door. The living room, untouched for so long, was still clean and tidy. I hurried to the front door. Xiangdong had already noticed something was off and started banging on the bathroom door. The front door was locked from the outside. I tried prying it open with all my strength, but it wouldn't budge. The sound of the bathroom door being forced open was loud. My hands trembled as I searched for the spare key. Sister. The sound of water droplets hitting the floor grew closer. An inexplicable chill ran through me. The footsteps drew nearer. With a surge of desperation, I pointed the knife hidden beside me toward Xiangdong. Don't come any closer. The knife tip shook slightly. I tried to steady myself in front of him. Xiangdong kept walking toward me, step by step. Seeing no other way, I reversed the knife, pressing it against my own neck. The cold touch sent shivers through me. Xiangdong finally stopped. Sister, I won't come closer. He reached out as if to stop me. Put the knife down first. Where's the key? I began to scream hysterically. Where did you put the key? Xiangdong didn't speak. I pressed the knife tip deeper, raising my voice. The key. There isn't one. Xiangdong paused. Xiangbei threw it away a long time ago. The last hope in my heart was crushed. Tears streamed uncontrollably from my eyes. Weakly, I leaned back against the door. Why? Why are you doing this to me? I finally understood. What floated in the air after being trapped by the red threads wasn't dust. It was some unknown powder sprinkled on the threads. The faintly glowing powder landed on my skin, igniting an unnamed desire. I stared at the empty ceiling, enduring that strange sensation. So back then, what was said wasn't many trials, but many knots of rope. I closed my eyes and smiled bitterly. Tears slid to the side of my ear, echoing that story. Xiang Miao wasn't a good mother. She lost her husband, and after giving birth, she gradually lost control over the Miao Jiu. For a family that passed secret arts only to women, not men, this wasn't a good thing. As the children grew, she realized things were spiraling out of control. She didn't like those children. They hadn't kept her husband, and they had made her lose her abilities. So she did something. She raised her own sons as GU. Take 100 insects, place them in a jar. After a year, open it. One insect will have devoured all the others. This is called Jia. When Xiang Miao opened it, she saw 4 Ji insects lying wounded in the center. This was probably fate. Xiang Miao fed these Jiu insects to her own children. Jiu and human became inseparable. Raising Jiu meant raising people. To restore herself, Xiang Miao applied all Jiu nurturing methods to her own sons. Hearing this, I remained cold-eyed. So what? What does that have to do with me? Just because I was too good to you, you had to imprison me. Sister, do you remember? Xiangdong looked up, meeting my eyes. The woman your ex-husband cheated with was also surnamed Xiang. Ji insects need a master. You are the master our mother chose for us. The moon outside the window must be very bright tonight. I looked up at the moonlight seeping through the gap in the curtains, spreading quietly like water. The sound of the door opening seemed abrupt in this quiet night. Sister isn't being obedient. Xiangbei closed the door and locked it. Step by step, he walked to my side. He reached past the red threads and took my hand. The unease and anxiety in my heart instantly calmed. I closed my eyes, not wanting to acknowledge him. He chuckled softly, looking at my closed eyes. The next moment, I felt the red threads on my body begin to be plucked. Powder was smeared onto my skin. Stop. I gritted my teeth, pleading. Then will sister open her eyes and look at me? I opened my eyes, tears flowing. Xiangbei reached out and wiped away my tears. Sister, don't cry. He paused. We really like you. Xiangbei kissed my eyelids. Don't leave, okay? I won't leave. Just don't lock me up, okay? I spoke softly. Xiangbei looked at me without speaking, his fingers stroking my cheek slowly. Sister. Xiangdong touched my lips with his finger. Open your mouth. I obediently opened my mouth. Swallow this, and you'll be free. Something powdery spread in my mouth. Before I could react to what it was, it had already dissolved and I'd swallowed it. Before I could ask what it was, knocking sounded at the door. Xiangbei watched the corner of my mouth for a moment before going to open the door. Xiangnan leaned against the doorway, looking past Xiangbei at me. Hello, sister. The picture of obedient understanding. If only I weren't tied up here right now. The two brothers walked in together. Xiangbei took my hand again. Untie the threads, Xiangbei said softly, gently pinching my fingertips. Don't, brother. Xiangnan casually plucked at the red threads in the air. Let's wait a while. Watching the brothers exchange a glance, an inexplicable fear rose in me. Xiangbei didn't speak, silently allowing it. Xianan's palm pressed against my abdomen. My head began to feel dizzy. And then what happened? I only remember seeing the red threads in the air being plucked incessantly, powder scattering and dispersing in the air. I watched the red threads rise and fall, watched them gradually grow damp and heavy. Saw the moonlight outside the window spread over my heart, and then dawn broke. The last image before closing my eyes was Xiangbei holding my hand, kissing my forehead. You're too tired. Sleep and you'll be fine. Xinbei hadn't originally planned to do anything to the sister who supported them. He knew Xiang Miao was crazy. They all knew. He thought maintaining that distance would be enough. But sister really was a good person. She thoughtfully cared for everyone. The first to fall for her was Shang-Shi, the youngest brother, who became dependent on her during that feverish night. Shangdong's affection was something Xiangbei saw clearly. That night when he carried sister back, Xiangbei saw Shangdong's reddened ears. The twins' affection was sealed in an instant. Later, when Shang-Shi placed the Jiyu, Xiangbei and Shangnan both saw it. As older brothers, they wanted to warn him. But Xiaonan quietly told Xianbei that Jiyu placed right under their eyes was better than Jiyu placed behind their backs. So that cup of milk tea wasn't finished. Xiangbei never expected that he would be the one sister depended on most. The feeling of being cared for and needed was truly wonderful. Xiangbei silently allowed sister's actions, holding hands and embracing away from everyone else's eyes. Xiangbei allowed their actions, and allowed himself as well. The master Xiang Miao chose was very good, so good that it made them all cherish her. But her body seemed similar to Xiang Miao's, naturally somewhat resistant to Ji Yu. That's why she sobered up so quickly. Imprisonment was the last resort. But they had to keep her by their side, didn't they? It felt like I had a very absurd dream. In the dream, there was flowing water, red threads, and moonlight. But the specifics of what happened I just couldn't remember. I sat up and shook my head. It still felt heavy and fuzzy. Sister? Someone was leaning against the doorway, watching me. His tone was teasing, but his eyes held concern. I forced a smile. What is it? Shangnan walked over and naturally sat beside me. You've had a fever for several days. How do you feel now? So it was a fever. My head still felt heavy, my eyelids wanting to close for more sleep. I'm fine. Shangnan took a blanket from the closet and draped it over me. Let's go eat. Following Shangnan into the dining area, the other three were busy in the kitchen. Shang-Chi's eyes curved into smiles when he saw me. Sister's awake. I walked over and ruffled his hair. Shang-Chi obediently bent down, offering his head to my hand. Xiangbei nudged my shoulder, guiding me to sit at the table, speaking affectionately near my ear. Wait a little longer. It's almost ready. I patted the back of his hand to say it was okay. Maybe being sick often brings melancholy. Even though the meal was perfectly fine, I kept feeling something was off. After the meal, Xiangbei suggested going out for a walk, taking my hand as we left. I held Xiangbei's fingers, swinging them back and forth. What's wrong? Maybe I had been staring at the back of his head for too long. Nothing. What exactly had I dreamed? And what had I forgotten? Xiangbei gently rubbed the back of my hand. Can you heat up a glass of milk for me before bed? I slept pretty well after drinking it last time. Last time? That time you helped me dry my hair. Okay. Let's go home. I swung Xiangbei's hand, stepping on our shadows, walking slowly and leisurely toward home. It seemed I remembered something. It seemed I had done something bad to them. But what did it matter? After all, I did like them quite a bit, didn't I? Only occasionally, I still remembered the brake system I had tampered with, and the peaceful, smiling face of that woman in death.